Welcome. I think we've all been looking forward to the opening of the guitar, Art, Artisans, and Artists. It's been fun putting this together for the last year and a half. Been talking to Alan Levin, who is the son of Chuck Levin, who's Chuck Levin's Washington Music Center in Baltimore, who's underneath about that much snow right now, but he's going to be trying to get here. Seeing Cynthia Post started talking about this exhibition, maybe 5-6 years ago. So we've been kicking around at the curatorial meetings and thought it was a good idea. How could we do it? Talking about the guitar, the quintessential American instrument. One, it's become an icon that actually represents America, both of the acoustic and the electric. And then how can we take that and talk about the aesthetics of the guitar? And then I was interested from a historical perspective in weaving in a line of how it all came about. How did the Cowboy become associated with the acoustic guitar? Those kind of things. But the primary theme was from Alan Levin's collection. He lent 7 guitars to this exhibit, which were just fun, artful, artistic guitars. And we'll see those. We've got 3 sections here: the history of the American guitar, or the guitar in this part of the world, and then the aesthetics of the guitar, and then the artists, those who perform with the guitar and made it famous. And actually, once those performers started to get it in front of the amplification, the invention of a microphone on stage really brought about a resurgence of the guitar, and it became a lead instrument at that point. Because before that, it was kind of strummed and it was background instrument. And then after that, when it became on stage and it could be amplified, it became louder, and they used that to accompany a single singer. And that's when the guitar took off. And so we'll see that, and then we'll look at the guitars of some of the most famous performers in the United States, a lot of them country singers and Nashville singers, and how those people, with their interest in certain types of guitars and certain models of guitars, how they influenced the whole guitar industry. But I think it's a lot of fun. From right here, we can, as the visitors come in, we can see the installation. It's an art installation, kind of a showcase at the beginning of the exhibition. And it's the artist is Amanda Dunbar. She's from Dallas. She's a wonderful 28-year-old young lady, very well known in the modern art community around the country. And each one of the guitars, there's a sign labeling on either side. Each one is a work of art in itself with a specific. The one you're seeing right now, the title of that is California Sunshine. Maybe you can see why. Each one is got a artistic statement with it. And so she just chose the guitar as a shape and something she could work with. She talked about multiplicity, and she was interested in facets and light, and that just led her on to Swarovski crystals and color and motion, and this is the result. I think she's a very talented young lady. She will be here Saturday night for the opening with her family. And so we were really thrilled to be able to more or less anchor the exhibition with this art installation. And as we walk on in, we'll start to see the history of the guitar in the United States unfold. Precious Rebels, Rebels being the guitar, the rock stars and everything. Precious Rebels is Amanda's art installation right here. And next to that, we're going to start the discussion of the history of the guitar. And Martin guitar, C.F. Martin, was the first guitar maker, credited as being the first commercial guitar maker in the United States in New York in 1833. Came from Germany, was trained classically as a guitar maker there. And this guitar was made somewhere around 1845. And so we're real thrilled to be able to have this included as a loan from the Oklahoma Vintage Guitars in El Reno. And it shows a lot of the early features of American guitars. You can tell it's somewhat smaller than what we're used to seeing Vince Gill and others on stage. These guitars were often used by ladies in the home. It was not a man's instrument considered in the mid-1800s. But this guitar down here, also of smaller body, is one that's really special and was dedicated, made for, and presented to President Benito Juarez, the president of Mexico. He had 5 terms from 1858 to 1872. And so sometime in that element, it's not dated, but sometime in there, this was presented to him. And on the back, you can see inlaid in shell, it says dedicated to Presidente of the Republic of Mexico, Citizen Benito Juarez. It's just amazing, but it also represents a very high level of craftsmanship, the artisanship of what is known are the luthiers. You'll see that word throughout the exhibit. Those are the people who make guitars, especially the handmade acoustic guitars, the hollow body guitars, luthiers. And it's got wonderful elements. That era from the 1800s, go back to the 1700s, there were a lot of lutes. Some of you might remember that term. It was a different kind of a stringed instrument, similar to guitar, but it had two harp-like elements that came up, two necks, and so this headstock at the top kind of alludes to that heritage of the lute, the shape. The three things in the middle, none of us know what that. It's just decorative. So then we go on to the the 1930s and the beginning of the singing cowboys, Gene Autry and Roy Rogers and those others. And how many of you had one of these little guitars out of Sears and Roebuck when you were little? None of the ladies will admit to being that age, but some of the guys can remember these. So that is a fun recollection of how that became much more popular. Back behind us here are 6 guitars that were made specifically for this exhibition by Gibson Acoustic Division in Montana. The luthiers there in Montana made these just during the last 6 months to show the different models, the heritage, and how it developed from around 1930 on up. The premier piece is this arch body here, this hollow body, this Super 400 in the front, which is the largest of them and the most difficult to make, and was the classic guitar that Roy Rogers played and really enjoyed in his films. The next section in the middle is the aesthetic part, the art of the guitar. And in this section is also anchored by 2 oil paintings by Rob Hendon from Nashville, an artistic treatment on canvas, acrylics on canvas, about the subject of the guitar. And then these other artists, principal among them Bruce Kunkel with a U, he chose the guitar and it works on contract with Gibson, but used the guitar as more or less a canvas of his own. And so you can see all the painted tributes and even the Elvis has got precious stones on them, and then the traditional use. Then you can see how far back the use of the inlaid mother pearl goes, and then now it's still a very traditional means of adornment for American guitars with Gibson and Martin and Taylor and all the various makes. Come on in and take a look at the various ways that people have used the guitar aesthetically. Many of these in the center part here are tributes to significant performers like Elvis, Merle Travis, Chet Atkins, B.B.King, John Lennon back there. The guitar that's brightly decorated back there, the yellows and reds and greens, was done by Rick Garcia. Rick Garcia is very well known in the art community. He's a Cuban expatriate, lives in Miami, and does a number of very surrealistic but very colorful, very fun works of art, but has also become known for an artist who works primarily, again, much of what he's got his reputation for is working with guitars. He just did another guitar for the Grammys. In the back, the next gallery, the third gallery, is about the performers that made the American guitar an internationally known instrument, and many of those that are still popular today. Toby Keith, Garth Brooks, Lynn Anderson's going to be here again for Western Heritage Awards in the spring. Features and explains a little bit more about our own Gene Autry guitar that's been in our collection now since the 1970s. The guitars of Brooks and Dunn that they sent over to represent them. Ranger Doug sent one of his guitars, an archtop, which is a unique. He likes to use the big-bodied, old-fashioned guitars. Marty Robbins' suit there, nudie suit and guitar. So, and then it talks about how these different artists, which instruments they chose and why, and some of them, like Gene Autry and Roy Rogers, how they influenced actually the creation of some of the instruments, in terms of also Jimmy Wakely and some of these other important people. So it's got a lot of elements to the exhibit. I and I hope folks have fun. It will open tomorrow, February 12th. The 6 to 8 on the 13th, Saturday, is where we're going to have the free preview reception / opening, and then it will run through May 9th this spring.